Hello viewers, Mike Stevens here. I've broken into BMW for a quick look at this i5 that they have flown into Australia. No, I fib, obviously. We were invited as guests today to come and have a look at the new 5 Series in its electric form. So there will be petrol models as well. We'll get a 520i in Australia, but this is the one to really be excited about, the i5. So to help me walk through it, I've invited Mr. Peter Anderson. Come on in, matey. How you doing?
I'm well, how are you?
I'm very good, thanks, mate.
Excellent.
So, what do you think?
It's big.
It's
really big. It's 5,060 millimeters. That's like CX-9 big. That's a big car.
I mean, the CX-9 is still one of the longest SUVs on the market even now, I think.
It is, but it's like, that's just short of a ute.
Yeah. And really, it has to get bigger as well because the new 7 Series is an absolute monster in every dimension.
Yep.
So, I can only just fit it into frame here. It's a smaller room than we were in last time for the M2 and XM, which we'll link above. You should check those out.
So I'm standing here looking at Mike crammed into a corner to make sure it fills the frame.
Absolutely
That's how big it is.
I'm right here in the corner of this room.
So speaking of how big it is, 5,060 millimeters, it's 97 mils longer, which is like a hand's width longer. That is quite a lot. Like that makes it
than the previous 5?
Than the previous 5.
Right.
That makes it a bit bigger. We haven't checked the figures exactly, but we think that's about the same length as a Bangle 7. So that first really bluff big boy 7.
Not some of his best work, but...
well, it got people talking.
That's true. I'm sure that was the mission.
32 mils wider, and so not much wider, and 36 mils taller. Critically, well, maybe not critically for everybody, but it's also got a 20 millimeter longer wheelbase, which means a bit more legroom, but also bit more room for the batteries underneath on the electric models.
Of course. So we are getting, what variants? i5, what?
We're getting 3. We're getting a 520i, we're getting i5 40i, and this one, which is this M60i. So this has got a bit of M goodness about it, and you'll see that around the car.
So up front, we don't know pricing yet. They're not really telling us much at all about the local spec, but you can imagine as a direct rival to Mercedes EQE, which we do have Australian pricing for. So we can imagine that this will come, obviously, at a price point that competes with the EQE.
I can't imagine it being that much different at all. These two cars are really going to punch on in the market. Yeah, definitely.
I'll be really looking forward to doing a comparison of the two of those together. Obviously, it's not going to be a high volume car. This thing, especially even just as a sedan.
Yeah.
But as an EV that's going to cost upwards of 150 and 200 grand in this top spec, they're not expecting massive numbers for this. And of course, with the Model S, the Tesla Model S no longer available in Australia, this is the sort of niche that this car now fills.
Definitely. And I think what's interesting is that there's only one petrol model left and the 2 electric. So I would extrapolate, and BMW did not want to comment, but I would extrapolate and say that they're expecting that the electric cars will be the big sellers. And I will be surprised if the 520i lasts 2 years in this generation.
Did they even confirm for any market in the world a diesel?
Not that I was aware of. I haven't watched it that closely, but it's something we can check up on and put it down there. But I can't imagine diesel's going to be a big seller either. Maybe in some markets.
Let's have a close look at the styling, mate. I'm going to say up front, I didn't like... Well, there were aspects of the car that I didn't like when it was first revealed. The headlights were sort of the main one.
Yeah.
I didn't like that weird downward stepped design, but in the flesh, I'll say it actually works really well.
I think that's the case with most Beamers at the moment, particularly the 2 Series. You see it in photos and you think, whoa, it's not great, but they really do work in the flesh. And even, the grille is... by current BMW standards, a lot smaller.
Absolutely.
It's still pretty bluff though, and I'm a bit leery about this kind of blanking, but that's where all the safety gears are behind.
The nice thing here though with this grille is that in the black frame and the blacked out, faux grille in the centre, it looks so much nicer than the chrome or silver grille that is on the 520 and the E40, the entry-level model, which we don't have here, but I'll throw some pictures up.
And around here, these light up. This lights up. So this will be quite a distinctive car at night, particularly in M60 form, with the blue highlighting in the lights. These are matrix LED. That's standard across the range, actually, but this extra lighting is part of the M60.
And that's on the XM as well, but of course the XM, the PHEV SUV, has a much, much bigger grille.
Yes.
Like this one, I can't even make a joke about it looking like a pig snout or a beaver.
So this is an iPhone 14 Max, so you can see how big it is. It's not huge. Not small, but it's not
No,
huge.
exactly. But,
and active flaps, of course, too, for cooling.
Who would have thought we could ever devote a minute of a video to talking about a grille? But BMW's pushed us there. Thank you. Thank you, team. So that's most of what there is to see at the front. What BMW's been doing here lately with the grille, the lines sort of following the shape of the kidney grille with my fingerprints all over it, running up into the bonnet is pretty cool. And of course, you've got these active louvers here as well for cooling. So you do still need cooling on EVs.
Oh,
grills, yeah, the grill still does play a role. It just doesn't need to, I mean, in fairness, no grill needs to be as big as they are anymore.
No, that's right.
Most of the cooling on cars these days is actually just a really small little slot.
It is. What you probably don't see in the video and in the photos is quite how flat and sharp edged the surfacing is. BMW are very, like, it's taken 20 years to move away from flame surfacing, which I think is really interesting. It's a much more, it's kind of slab-sided, but not as a slur. It looks quite good.
It's a slur.
It's very, it's about presence, this car, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it does have so much more in the flesh. I mean, the comments were surprisingly mixed, I felt, when the car was revealed. There were a lot of people that liked it and a surprising number of people that didn't.
Yeah.
So I think in the flesh it'll have a better impression.
Just while we're here, these are the M mirrors. So they've got this aero kind of device here.
Which has become a pretty classic feature of M cars now.
Yeah, but quite big.
Yeah.
Yeah, M mirrors generally aren't that big. And of course, on an electric car, a big mirror makes a big difference to the range. So,
But they're not cameras.
No, they're not cameras. Yeah,
that's
right.
sort of welcome, because that's never a nice feature in our
That's
experience.
becoming a thing.
So let's come around the back.
Yep.
Complete our tour of the exterior design. This was the part I immediately liked. I just think that it's simple, understated. They haven't tried to do anything wild here.
Yeah.
To their credit, and I think it really works.
It does
a very
work.
straightforward design.
What's worth noting is this is an actual Venturi. So because on the electric cars, it's completely flat underneath. If you flip this over, it's just a panel. And if you get in underneath here, you can see there's a Venturi here. So there's actual aero effect on this Venturi, and it looks quite good. And you can just see the suspension, which is all fared in. So there's a lot of work being done.
Where's the exhaust pipe? What's going on?
You know what?
They've hidden it really well.
When I first got there and had a look, I'm like, oh yeah, they've blown the exhaust through the Venturi, and then realised what a complete moron I am.
We all knew, mate. We all
knew. Boot space, so it's different between the two between the petrol and the electric. It only drops 30 litres though, so the 520i, the only petrol that we're getting available, is 520 litres, easy to remember, and it's 490 for the electric models.
Oh, basically nothing.
Basically nothing, yeah, you don't even notice 30 litres, do you?
So obviously no spare wheel in this model. I assume there's also not one in the 520 then?
I don't think so. I mean, most Beamers now come with run flats and goo anyway, so yeah.
Let's have a look in the boot.
Yeah, well, it's,
While we're here.
it's a dark
It's electric,
space.
mate.
It's electric. You can drop the seats from here, and then this is a pre-production model, so what should happen is when you pull that, the seats will drop, but they just unlatch, and so you have to go and slam them. There's some space under here for your charging, which is nice. Looking at it, it doesn't seem like even on the petrol model there would be room for...
And this space here is included in the 490, was it, litres? I guess it would have to be.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah. Because I think the floor is higher, but you've got this little drop-down bit here.
And what sort of an opening do we get when we drop the seats? Oh, it looks like it's most of that. Well, you're definitely not going to see that in the video, but...
Let's give it a whirl. Why not?
Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a big size pass-through.
It is, and so 64, actually you can also split 40, 20, 40.
Yep, which is the dream, really.
It is the dream.
Especially for families. Not that families are going to be buying this car. No. All right, pop around to the driver's side, mate, and let's have a look at the cabin.
Oh, you can't see it, but there's a glass roof on this car.
Ooh. Well, we'll have a look at that from the inside.
Got your puddle lighting here as well. Always a bit of a laugh. See if I can create enough of a shadow.
Ooh.
You can just see it there.
That's fancy.
Fancy puddle lighting, and it turns into that kind of stripy...
It's kind of odd, though, that it doesn't say BMW. It's not... Like, you get Jaguar and all of those that have really over-the-top branding for puddle lights.
Well, this is I think this is the M light, and I think there's a different one for the other cars.
Right.
All right.
What's good in here, mate?
There's a couple of funky things. Let me turn this off, because it'll make a racket.
So about 8 taps to get to the air
No,
conditioning?
that's just me not knowing where I'm going. Right, so the phone charger, we talked about battery cooling before. I thought it was 2, I thought it was Tesla style, but the phone charger actually has cooling on it. So a lot of folks will know that when they put their inductive charge phones on these charging pads, they get really hot. So this thing actually drags the air away from it and cools it down.
So it's not 2 phone chargers?
No.
One side of that is literally just to drag away heat?
Drag away heat, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Crafted clarity, the glass stuff, that's standard on the M60 and optional in the 520i and the i540. I quite like this cleaned up iDrive vibe here.
I believe that's what they call it, the iDrive vibe.
iDrive vibe. I don't even call it iDrive anymore. That's showing my age. Just some basic controls. A nice the fashionable toddler tongue poking out of the
Toddler tongue.
Yeah, poking out there.
We need to have a chat about your hobbies, I think.
I can't really see it because it's glass, but yeah, it's like a Golf or a 911's toggle. Usual cup holders, decent, almost decent size. That's a key, I think, but it's not very. It's not very substantial. Anyway, let's not worry about that.
That might actually be for the internet connectivity. They've got an issue with Telstra at the moment where they need this additional dongle with a SIM in it until I think later this year.
Oh, right, that's good to know.
That's the case with the i7, so I'm assuming that's what that is in here.
So there's a lot of functionality, of course, in this car that's going to rely on the internet. Now, again, this is pre-production, so normally this would be a nav map. What is different, this is OS 8.5, so this is a step on from what we've seen previously. So these shortcut buttons have come from here and gone down to here. We've lost the physical climate control, that's now in here.
That is a shame.
So they're all in. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the physical stuff, particularly for that regular use thing. So anyway, but the hardware feels pretty snappy, it feels pretty good. So you can scroll through regularly needed features through here, if I can get that to work.
Allegedly, you can scroll through.
Pre-production.
Well, yeah, I don't think the infotainment's pre-production.
And you can also swipe left and right in those different panels, so you can see, more information about what you're looking at. So that's kind of.
Look, we all know everybody's going to use CarPlay and Android Auto, so
absolutely,
whatever.
So wireless, of course. Here on the M60, you've also got this really cool wheel.
Let me come around your side.
Yeah, let's do that. So the wheel, while Mike's walking around, the wheel is it's new. The colour of the leather is new for this car, as is this, which has been in past M cars, but not in M performance cars. It's a really nice wheel. Actually, it's sitting a bit high for me. So we've got the 2 screens here. The driver screen is 12.3. and the main screen is 14.9. So it's pretty big, but it's a nice, seamless kind of thing here. And even just sitting here, I've got the right kind of information on the range and battery life. So both the 40 and the M60 have the same size battery, which is 84 kilowatt hours. So less than like an up-spec Model S, but the range is 582 in the rear-wheel drive E40, and in the twin motor, it's 516 versus 582. So that's about a 15% drop in range for the extra grunt. So we're talking 250 kilowatts, 430 newton meters for the rear drive car. So that's mirroring the kind of setup in the i4 where you've got the rear-wheel drive and the all-wheel drive. And the M60 has a massive 442 kilowatts and 820 newton meters for an official time of 3.8 seconds to 100. It's probably a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
205 kilowatt charging, so it hasn't got that big headline charging number, but
I mean, that's one of the higher numbers.
it is one of the higher numbers.
Yeah,
but it's
that's not far off. Is this an 800 volt or 400 volt design? It must be 800.
It must be 800 to be over 150, but we might need to check that. You can get 10 to 80% in 30 minutes when you're charging at full whack, but you really need a tailwind for that all to work, as we've discovered over the years. And you get a 5-year ChargeFox subscription, which is great. So if you live near one and you live near one that works, you're in really good shape for.
Well, I mean, really, you don't even need to be living near one because that sort of thing is for when you're out road tripping.
Sure.
Yeah.
But, like if you just want to, and well, actually, that's a thing we didn't talk about. On the screen, which isn't available on this pre-production, there's a function called Air Console. So you'll be able to download an app to your phone, which will act as a controller, so that while you're sitting charging or at the kids' football game, you can sit and play games.
The phone becomes a controller?
Yeah.
Oh, amazing.
How cool's that?
You know what would be cooler? If they supplied some actual controllers.
Yeah, that's right. But then they just rattle around the car.
Can you connect, I wonder then, if you can connect like an Xbox or PlayStation controller?
That would be cool. Yeah. So I'm no confirmation of the games, but that's kind of cool because the Tesla Model Y, Model 3, they have those games in them, a couple of quite good ones too, but having that controller would be quite good.
I wonder how far we are away from a brand announcing a partnership with Nintendo or Sony or Microsoft.
Yeah. That would be cool. Very cool.
Yeah. I mean, I actually think that would make a purchase decision for a lot of people.
I actually think so too. I mean, that sounds niche, but it's really not.
No, it's not. Let's have a look in the back.
Yep. The other thing that will be on it is YouTube.
Oh, well,
For when you
I mean, of course.
Yeah, well, because you can't get YouTube through CarPlay.
Through your phone, no, definitely not.
All right, so tons of room. I'm 180 centimetres tall. This is pretty much where
What's that in old money?
It is 6 feet tall. Or just a scooch under.
You just want to say 6 feet.
Well, it's 5'11" and a bit.
I'm 5'11.5.
Got your own climate control back here and 2 USB-C here. You've also got USB-C in the back of the seats, and this little clip which is going to allow aftermarket accessories for screens, coat hooks, all sorts of things. So the 3D printers are going to have a blast here.
Yeah, actually, that's a good point.
Yeah, that should be interesting. I quite like it when it's just like, here's the thing, here are the specs, make your own thing.
Yeah.
This is very comfortable back here, very nice.
So that is the front seat is in your driving position right now?
Easily, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, you're not wrong about it being comparable to an older 7 Series. That is loads of knee room.
So I've got a phone's worth of knee room.
Especially for you at not quite 6 foot, but gee, you wish you were.
Just a scooch under.
That is really
It's
good.
a lot of room. And the headroom's quite good, even with the glass roof.
Or are you just like really tall in the torso and you've got tiny legs?
No, I've got long legs.
You've got long legs.
No, my son has short legs and long. So this is, even though this roof is lower, I'm feeling a reasonable amount of headroom, so that's about 10 centimetres. The 17-speaker stereos, Bowers and Wilkins, for the both i5 models.
Are you even a premium car brand if you don't have Bowers and Wilkins?
Well, that's true, isn't it? And they look pretty good, actually.
I really like that patterning.
Yeah, it's kind
We've
of
seen
nice.
that in i7, iX. That's BMW's thing now. It's really nice.
Real metal.
That's what we saw in the puddle lighting as well, which is still on. Right
It
now.
is, yeah. Real lighting too. Real metal. Real lighting. Right, it's real light. Not that fake stuff you can get.
Some ASMR for our readers?
Yeah.
Our viewers?
Also, not only are the face vents here, but they're here as well.
What are they, sorry? Oh, vents.
Vents, yeah. So you can get a little bit of extra air. And no doubt, being a BMW, they're on your feet as well. The floor is probably a little higher than you would expect from a 5, but that's because the batteries are underneath.
Flat in the centre?
No, huge transmission tunnel.
Okay, so accommodating for the 520.
So this definitely feels like it's still a cluster architecture or CLAR car. I mean, the footwells are pretty big, and I'm just under 6 foot tall. I've still got acceptable headroom, and it's like middle seat. They're all too hard and too uncomfortable, and you've got a hard back here for the armrest.
No, of course.
Now, actually, I'll check the armrest, see if there's anything funky about it. No, just cup holders. Well, but in the ski port look here as well. Yeah, but a nice back seat that hardly any owners will ever use unless they're picking up their in-laws from.
Oh well, I mean, obviously Uber drivers will get the most out of that.
Well, I think. Well, there may not be Uber, but there are a number of premium,
of course,
sort of VHA in Victoria, hire car in Sydney, where this pricing, as you said before, it's probably going to be it's going to be less than a Model S, at least a stacked one. And given the size of it, why would you need a 7?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good.
Do you want to pop the bonnet for us? Because I feel confident it's going to be full of engine and electricals with no storage.
All I've got to do is find the mechanism. I'm just double checking. Oh, I lied.
Hey!
Found it. See, it was on the right-hand side.
Well, that was 30 seconds of embarrassing, incorrect
And actually, now that I think about it, the i4 is not sealed, but the iX is.
The iX is. Well, the iX is the first one on a dedicated EV platform, isn't it?
It's a bit of a Frankenstein car, actually.
Okay.
It's bits of CLAR and bits of other. But yeah, it's got a flat floor.
So it's the Lexus ISC of EVs.
Yes, it's a double pull. That's why it's not opening. We're professionals.
I'm not skipping any of this, I want you to know. Viewers are going to see all of this.
Right.
Holy moly.
Look
Okay,
at the
that
size of
part
that.
they don't want you getting into.
Wow, that's... Yeah, that's...
So that's a W16 in there.
Here we go.
Cool. So, I mean, really, I would say BMW and Mercedes alike, unlike Model 3 and Model Y rivals, are very thankful the Model S is no longer available in Australia. Question is, do you buy a recent used Model S instead of one of these?
But I don't think that many people are buying the Model S, though.
And then the reality is that if you are drawn to a BMW, whatever advantages the Model S offers is not the point.
Yeah, you're not. That's right. And look, having driven a few Model S's over the years, I would be pretty confident that this is going to be more fun to drive. Maybe not necessarily in the straight line, but this will actually go around corners.
It is interesting, though, that just about every EV from every legacy brand has a similar god-awful arrangement here under the...
Looks like a French car under here, doesn't it?
None of them have either wanted to or been able to compete with Tesla on that front.
This looks like the under bonnet arrangement of the last Renault Sport Megane, which was
like a WRX.
It's an absolute mess. But hey, that's why this is here, so we don't have to look at it.
Well, they might as well seal the bonnet.
Yeah, really. That's right. Actually, they may as well.
There is no point to that at all.
Actually, one thing I did miss. They've all got four-wheel steer. There's a BMW name for it, which I always forget.
Well, let's take it for a spin and see how that goes.
Yeah. I mean, we could probably turn it on its own length in here, but that's quite handy in such a big car, I think.
Yeah.
I'm so glad four-wheel steer has made a comeback professional. I'm breaking Mike here. He's about to lose it.
That's why I brought you in, mate.
Yeah, that's right. What else? Biggest wheels are on this car. They're 20s, I believe, and 19s as you go down the range. This looks like...
rubbery on. Are they Pilot 4s by the looks of it?
I believe... No, Primacy. E-Primacy. Yeah, right. I'm sure they're completely different to the normal Primacy. Here's a charge port. CCS2 with DC, obviously.
Like most brands.
22 kilowatt charger in the boot, up to 22 anyway. You obviously need a wall box and 3-phase for that to work at home. I'm actually down with this 5 here.
I like the 5, but I think like a lot of people, I'm not yet on board with this new interpretation of the Hofmeister.
Oh, I like it.
I don't dislike it. It's just that I preferred the beautiful original Hofmeister King.
Yeah. I mean, I actually quite like the way the Hofmeister King is actually inside the car. And
actually,
the glass
that's a
is
great
flat.
point. And that has got to be a deliberate tribute. So that's really cool. Well,
it's a lot of car.
It is. I like this little lip in the end. I'm sure that's
very M60.
Very functional.
I like this, actually. I wasn't expecting to, again...
Literally just walked into the wall.
Just walked into the wall. Yeah. That's how big it is. It really fills the space. And the bonnet still isn't shut properly. I wasn't expecting to like it this much, but I really... Seeing it through the lens of a BMW guy, but yeah, I really like it. I think proof's obviously going to be in the driving, and that's really what BMWs are about. But yeah, this isn't kind of look at me, I'm an EV, nor is it look at me, I'm a BMW. It's where the 5 Series should be, in that sort of more elegant end of the spectrum. Yeah.
I'd really like to know what our viewers think of the styling of this versus, of course, the EQE, but also, for that matter, a Model S.
Yeah.
While we're talking about it.
Get into it down there. Look, more of these cars are coming, and so it's really good to see the Europeans really getting in and starting to flesh out their range, even though it's not necessarily in the price spec that most of our viewers are going to be familiar with. I mean, I'm not familiar with this price spec either, but it just shows that they're coming. It's starting to happen. Speaking of coming later this year? Believe so, later this year. Still haven't got pricing, so that's why we think it's going to be around EQE. We don't know. But yeah, I mean, we're seeing this car, days after the international launch, and it was actually flown out here for us to have a look at. Us specifically, do not bother looking at any other channels. That's absolutely right. Can't believe you would go anywhere else. We've got cookies. We can see. I know what's in the cookies.
Thank you all so much for joining us for this walk around. I hope you enjoyed it. We obviously did a similar video, Alex Inwood and I, for the BMW XM and M2. So we're rapt that BMW has started doing this, flying in the cars early for us to get a look at before a launch event, just to have a look at, even without driving it. There is so much to talk about with these new cars. So we hope you enjoyed it, and obviously if you did, or really even if you didn't, you should hit like and subscribe, and please do jump into the comments so that we can chat about what you think of the car, what you think of Peter's inability to find a bonnet latch.
I'm here for the laughs.
And that's been it. So obviously keep an eye out for our launch drive. Hopefully we'll get an opportunity to drive it overseas in the nearer future, but if not, then obviously later this year. So thanks all, jump into the comments and we will chat with you there. Why won't it close?
Oh, okay. There they are. Just make sure nothing fouled. That better?
No.